Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division in the Ghostly Glades tournament. Video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. So we're going to start off with hole number 1 and now we're going to go for the rough bump. The reason I'm going for the rough bump is because we do have a limited amount of backspin on our club. You can see we only have 2.5 bar of backspin, and that is going to be the same for many clubs that you do have when you're playing rookie. If you do have 4 bars of backspin, then I suggest you bounce over the bunker instead. But with this low amount of wind, then with backspin, then I do suggest that you do play from the rough bump. 3.3 is going to give us 1.6 rings, and we're going to have to play this shot 20% over adjusted. So we're going to add 20% extra than what it says from the beginning. And the thing that is there is, like, let's say we did have 3.3 in wind, as you can see there, then we're going to add 20% to that, which is going to be around 4 in wind, and then we're going to adjust for 4 instead. Why do we do that? The reason we do that is because we're playing downhill, and when we play downhill, the ball is going to be affected more by the wind, which means that we are going to travel further than expected now with tailwind. That's the same with headwind. If headwind and we're playing downhill, that the ball is going to travel not going to travel as far as estimated, because the headwind is going to affect the ball more. And this is an important hole. If we can bag an eagle on hole number 1, then that is going to be absolutely very good. And kind of like the thing that we do want in the end is to either have a putt or we do want to have a wedge for the pin to make an eagle. Before we go to hole number 2, do not forget to check down in the video description to take a look at the holes with the direct timestamps for this playthrough. So now we're gonna go to hole number 2, and hole number 2 is going to be a par 3, and now we're going to have to bounce on the platform as our opponent is doing as well on the right side there. The thing here is that we could potentially play with a rough bump here, but we're most likely going to be in between clubs and many of the times, especially if we're going to play with a backbone and a viper like we are doing now. So if you want to play for the rough bump, then I suggest that you do play with the Goliath, that do have more distance, and a power 3 ball, so you can bounce in the rough nicely there. You can see here now, even if I use a ball with power 0, we're still going to be in between clubs when we do adjust for it. So I'm going to pick a navigator here, and I'm going to play with the backbone on the island here. My suggestion is to play with a little bit more side spin than I'm having here, so a quasar or a katana would be preferred, so we don't have to aim as much, so as close to the rough there we do have on the left. I'm going to play this one just as it is, which is going to give me 2.2 rings. I'm not going to add anything for playing downhill or playing uphill. And then we hit it perfect with a slight amount of curl to the left, as we do want to come into the left. We do have a decent speed, but we're not coming in as much to the left as we want to, and then we need to go with more curl. And as I said from the beginning, we do need to play with a ball that gives us more side spin. So hole number 3, here you can see I'm changing to the quarterback. Why do I do that? Because quarterback we do lose distance. The reason I do that is because we do want to play with a good accuracy, we want to play with a good ball guideline, so we can rely on that better. So, and also for having a club with better accuracy, the easier it will be for us to get the ball where we want to, even if we do hit great. Because if we do miss this shot, then we're going to potentially put ourselves into the water. Then we do want to have a club that definitely going to help us with that. So our adjustment for the drive is going to be on the island. We're going to go with max side spin with a quasar, max top spin with every driver, all the way up to giving us 5 bars of topspin. If we're going to have more than 5 bars of topspin, then we're going to play with 5 bars of topspin as the most. Then we're going to add some curl, and as you can see, I did use around half a ball of curl outside to the right, and the reason I'm not using more is, again, the side spin combined with that we are going to have straight tailwind here. But the very important part here is that don't get fooled by the ball guideline and just trying and just seeing it as it would be bouncing over and the bunker is not in play. If coming in too much to the left, the bunker will definitely be in play. And last but not least, we're playing downhill here, which mean that we need to add more to our adjustment because the ball is going to travel a lot longer than expected. Not a lot, but longer than expected in tailwinds. We're going to add 10% to our original drive. So the second shot here, now we're going to go with a max backspin with the Viper, which is going to be 3 bars. And then we're going to have max side spin on the Quasar as well, as we do want the ball to push in towards the left there. We're going to have a hard time if you just, I think it's a hard time to see the ball guideline, especially from distance with that bright green. 2.5 rings. And I'm also going to play 10% extra on this particular hole. It doesn't show that it's uphill, but the numbers do work when playing with 10% extra on this one. You can see we did hit great, then we were going to miss on the right side of the pin. But decent speed, and with a perfect shot we would be gaining a little bit more distance combined with coming a bit straighter. Would be potentially an albatross here. So we're taking it very conservative, we're taking it easy, and I'm going to continue to do that in the rest of this playthrough, because again, we're going to give ourselves some good opportunities here. The only hole that I'm going to play very aggressively on is this one. You're going to be able to see our opponent here going to play with a basic ball and overpower, going over directly on the fairway there. If you want to do that play, pull out a power 3 ball, a Titan instead, so you don't have to go with max overpower. Then you're most likely going to have to stay away from overpower to get it over there. But the thing that we do want is to get it here as an ultimate situation here, if we're not going to play it massively aggressive. So now I'm playing it aggressively here. I'm going to play with a power 3 ball. The reason for that is that I do want a little bit more distance. This shot can be played with a big topper 2-3 as well. It doesn't have to be a big topper 4. You can see my second bounce, I do want to be a little bit more than half on the next fairway. I'm not going to add anything more than just adjusting as regular for the wind. And with the big topper, level 4, we're going to play 1.6 rings for 4.5 miles per hour. We hit it perfect, which is going to bounce first one time and then a second time. But then look at this, we do have too much topspin here that we actually could take away some topspin and play with maybe 7-8 bars, because the way that we do want in the end is to get that ball, not the first time, not the second time, but the third bounce is going to be in the rough by the green, so the ball slows down. A tough shot, but definitely going to be something that you can try if you rely on your skill on hitting the ball perfect. If you feel very uncomfortable by hitting the ball perfect, then you should stay away from that and play it on the left side instead. But I really wanted to show an alternative way to be more aggressive here from the front tee with the big topper, which has started to become a pretty good club for me, or at least one of my top 5 clubs that I do like the most. So when I'm playing here from the rough, I'm going to look at the yellow ring here, just having the yellow ring just on the front, max backspin with the what is it called, machete, which is going to make the ball stop if I do miss the pin directly and have an easy putt for the birdie. But we dunk it in and we take the eagle, and I do believe hole number 4 is definitely going to invite people to play an eagle. But I say it again, if you don't feel comfortable playing that aggressive that I did, then please play conservative, play on the left side. Either you bounce it over to that platform or you go directly over, and then you're going to have a shot with either the long iron or the most likely the short iron, or a wedge towards the pin. And definitely that is going to be a good opportunity for an eagle as well. So now we go to hole number 5, and here again we need to be very important with the elevation. We're playing this one massively downhill, so you're going to see a lot of players do under adjusting their shots, because they read it differently than we are going to do. So 3.1 in wind, we're going to add 20%, which is going to be adding around 0.6 in wind. So we're going to play this one as it would be 3.7 in wind. So we're going to have the second bounce just on the middle of the fringe with 3 bars of backspin with the Viper here. Now we're going to adjust max numbers from this position, which is going to be 2 rings. And also then we're going to apply some curl. You can see I'm having half a ball of curl outside to the right, and then we hit it perfect. You see we're getting it to bounce, but we are coming in a little bit too much to the right, so we could be taking off a little bit of curl to the right, and then we would have been a little bit closer. But that is how you play hole number 5, and it looks pretty simple, but it is not a simple hole. So that is why it's important to have all the variables with that shot. So side spin, backspin, curl, adding 20%, and you're going to be there. So now we're going to play with a Marlin, and I'm going to play with a quarterback again. And now you maybe wonder, why, Tommy, do you play with a quarterback on a par 5? The reason for that is that we're still going to be able to read for the green in 2 with a Viper that we're going to play with, even if we're playing with a Marlin, which doesn't have power 2 or 3, 4. Then it's a good way for us to maybe save our power 3 balls if we don't have that many, and just focus on playing with, we can play with a basic ball as well if we want to, of course, but I'm playing with a Marlin to give myself a little bit of side spin. You can see there I was aiming on just cutting the rough there with the blue ring, as I did have max topspin on the quarterback level 6. I would be using max topspin even up to 5 bars of topspin. If having more topspin, then I wouldn't be using that, and I will just make a cap of 5 bars of topspin. Then we're going to go with 1 ball of curl to the right if we are going to play with a Marlin. If we're going to play with a ball with more side spin, let's say the Quasar, Katana, Titan, or even a Kingmaker, then I'm not going to go with that much curl. So the trick here is to get the ball to stay, of course, as close to the top there as possible, but not dangerously close, so we risk going into the rough there. You can see here that with the wind that we're going to have way enough speed, way enough distance to reach over to where we want to. So I'm going to play 1.5 bar backspin here, and the bushes that you do have there in the rough is not going to be in play. Here we're not going to add anything for elevation. We are just going to play it as it is. So 5.1, and we're going to play this one as we would be in max distance of our club, and that is going to be 2.4, 2.5 rings. And now we hit it great, and that will of course make us miss the hole on the right side. But that is always important, to try to hit the ball perfect as much as possible, because otherwise we can be as perfect with our adjustment as possible, we're still going to miss. And one thing that I did forget about the drive is that you're going to add 10% to your adjustment there. We're playing slightly downhill, and then it works to add 10% to our drive. Then this is going to be an opportunity for you to make an albatross, but listen closely to the descriptions of the hole here, so then you're going to have no problem to get this ball to bounce and go nicely towards the spin to pin. The spin adjustment is very important, and that is something that I do believe many players do have a problem with sometimes, because they feel like, okay, I can't read the ball guideline properly, but use the same spin as I'm showing, and then it's definitely going to work for you. So hole number 7, now we are coming in here, and hole number 7 is going to be a course which is going to invite you to play aggressively, but I'm not going to do that. The reason I'm not going to do that is because of the wind. The wind here is going to be too hard for us to get to where we want to. We need to also have in mind that the skill level that we do have here with these type of clubs is that we most likely going to miss the spot we are aiming for, and also we're going to rely so much for hitting the ball perfect, which we're not going to do every single time. So You can see our opponent playing straightforward, and we're going to do absolutely the same. But you can see now when I'm going to most likely show you here with with my landing position where you want to aim if you're going to play on the right side. You can see here you need to play that shot in between the rough and the bunker, and with a power 3 ball you will be able to reach even further, but I will still say that that is such a tiny bit of fairway that is going to be so dangerous for you to play that way. And then I do feel that we should be playing straightforward instead, because that is going to be an easier shot for us. We're going to play our club as we would be in max distance of our club. And we play with a basic ball here, as you can see. And the only thing that I would suggest for you to change here is to play with a power 3 ball. The reason for that is then we're going to be allowed to play. Then we're going to be allowed to play with a short iron in maximum distance. Otherwise we're going to have a long iron that most likely going to be minimum distance, or it's going to be in between clubs. And in between clubs is terrible, nothing that we do want. So our opponent has a Goliath here, and Goliath is the wrong club. And the reason for that is because of the backspin. We do need to play with a long iron that do have more backspin. Like the backbone is going to be perfect. So the backbone is definitely going to be a suggestion here. But the best one is the Saturn that gives even more backspin to go directly on to the pin. The green here is very bumpy, so we're going to have that in mind when we're going to directly here. And it kind of takes away the opportunity to go with a max backspin shot with a thorn if we're not coming in from the right side more. You can see that, I hope you can see. We can see that bumpy part there. So we're basically going to try to bounce over that one by using the fringe. And you know, I've always say don't use the fringe, that is so inconsistent. But I've noticed on this shot, I've been making this one several times by using the fringe, and then I'm actually going to keep myself to do that. Now, the reason I'm going to change my approach, not change my adjustment here, is because I did adjust for being in max distance of our club, but we are just in the minimum distance. And the difference with that is half a ring, which is going to make it or break it if we're going to make it in the hole or not. Now we hit the grade, so it doesn't really matter, but otherwise, then it's very important for us to have the adjustment right. It needs to be important for us to know that, okay, we're going to play in minimum distance of our club, or we're going to go and play in maximum distance of our club, or like medium distance of our club as well. So now we're going to play hole number 8, a par 3, which is going to be something I'm going to play with a power 0 ball. As you can see, our opponent is having the maul in here, and that is the ball that I'm going to play with as well. So you can play with both a maul in, you can play with a basic ball. I do like to play with a maul in to give myself 2 bars of side spin, or like 2.5 bar of side spin to either direction, to just help myself to bounce. To stay away from like spots where I have to aim close to the rough, or from any other obstacle. So you can see here with a Viper level 7, we're going to be almost in between clubs. And now you can see I'm coming very close to the rough there on the left, and I'm going to go and change and take a maul in instead, so I can go with the side spin. I'm still not going to use any topspin or topspin or backspin. I'm just going to play without topspin, backspin, and go with the side spin there instead. You can see almost half of the red ring cutting the rough on the left. And now we're going to play in minimum distance of our club, and we're going to play it as it is, 1.7 rings. Now we play and we hit it great, and that's going to mean that we're going to come in short, but we're also going to miss on the left side. With a perfect shot, then we could potentially putting ourselves closer to the pin. My suggestion here is to play with half a bar of topspin, and then of course hit the ball perfect. But half a ball of topspin, then the same adjustment there. Minimum distance of our club, we're not going to add anything for elevation, just minimum distance of our club, and play with a ball that has no power, like power 0. So now you can see we're having some tailwind here, 3.6, and now I'm going to actually play with some slight overpower. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I do feel we're going to gain a big advantage by reaching over the rough and the bunker there on the top. And if you do have some power 4 balls or power 5 balls to spare, then that could potentially be a ball to play with instead. Now I'm using just a tiny bit of overpower here. And the thing that we want to achieve is to get as far as possible here on this fairway here, which we do. And now we're going to have an open shot towards the pin, which is going to actually be a potential albatross attempt. Not attempt, but potential albatross if you do make the attempt in a good way. But if you do feel very uncomfortable going with overpower, you can play on the right side. And the right side is going to give you a way where you have to bounce on the left side of the bunkers and go as close to the rough on top as possible, because from that position we're going to curl it. So for the second shot you're going to have to use a club that do give you a lot of curl. Let's say the sniper, let's say the big dog would be a good club as well. But I suggest with this type of wind, and sometimes we're going to have more wind, sometimes we're going to have a lower wind, that is going to have to either remove some overpower or add some overpower. But in the end you can just look at this shot here. We are in a minimum / medium distance of our club. I'm going to use 2 bars of backspin aiming directly at the pin. You can see here we do definitely have some space to hit the ball great left, great right, and still going to have a chance for the pin. And at least even if we hit the ball great, we're definitely going to just find ourselves in a spot where we're most likely going to have just an easy putt to make the eagle layer on hole number 9. So for me here in Rookie Division, I do believe we're going to see a score that will win in around minus 27, 28. I think that will be the winning score. And sure, some brackets going to be lower, but I do believe that is going to be the score to win. Why is that? The reason for that is that we're going to have the par 4s, which is going to be must eagles. Hole number 1, that is going to be a must eagle there, as we can go for green directly. And it's not going to be that hard of a shot if we just listen and have that in mind when we play, like how to adjust. Hole number 4 and hole number 7. Hole number 4 is possible to go green with a big topper, but otherwise it's definitely possible to have an approach from short distance. That's the same for hole number 7. The par 5s open up for albatross attempts, except for hole number 9, which is going to be a little bit tricky. And the par 3s are there as well, except for hole number 5. I don't like that one, but the other 2 definitely possible. So definitely going to be taking some drops for this one, and I wanted to add that here in the end. So thanks a lot for watching this playthrough. Video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the Rookie Division in the Ghostly Glades tournament.